What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to be reacting to We Were Wrong About Carbs for Muscle Growth from Renaissance Periodization. Let's hop straight into it.
You want as many carbs as possible has been the claim for a long time, but today's new meta-analysis shows something different. They compared carbohydrate and fat intakes of various levels. There was no statistically significant effect on muscle growth of eating more carbs or more fat. Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for RP Strength. Are carbs magical for muscle growth?
Yes.
And is it the more carbs the better for muscle growth?
No.
Let's answer that question today. We have a new meta-analysis to look at. So,
I love meta-analyses.
first up, what you for sure need to get jacked from your food. 4 to 6 meals per day of high quality protein as the core of pretty much each meal. Sufficient overall calories so that you're above maintenance to gain at your best rate, to actually put on body weight.
That's true. Most people think you need a 500 plus calorie surplus. You don't. I would say anywhere from 200 to 500 is sufficient.
And those are the two fundamental must-have non-negotiable ingredients. The people in this world...
That's true, but 4 to 6 meals is not necessarily non-negotiable when it comes to this. 3 meals would be fine. 4 to 6 is just better for overall protein consumption and absorption.
All of the people in this world have made their best gain on, for sure, this combination. 4 to 6 meal, core of protein, and enough calories to gain weight. Period. Not up for debate. How much protein?
Meals are up for debate, but...
About a gram per pound of protein.
0.8 on the low end, 1.2 on the high end.
Per day is a really good middle number. There's totally nuance on that. We have a billion different videos on the nuance. Gram per pound is a really good start. And because fat is an essential nutrient, something like 1/4 grams of fat per pound per day is also a good idea. So for example, if you weigh 200 pounds, you need about 200 grams of protein and at least 50 grams of fat. That's pretty low end though. And so typically you would aim more for 75 grams of fat in that situation. So a fourth of your body weight, more like 1/3 in fats. And here's the thing.
I don't hate that.
For a long time, and to this day, the vast majority of the bodybuilding community, serious fitness community, will tell you that you get 200 grams of protein if you weigh 200 pounds, maybe 75 grams of fat. The rest should be carbs.
That is true.
All the way up to where your total calories are hit. Not any more fats than about 75, because that would be too many fats, and you want as many carbs as possible has been the claim for a long time. In other words, keep the fat on the low end and fill the rest in with carbs.
That is true, and what I'm going to talk about later is probably just the timing. Carb timing is very important. It's almost just as important as the amount of carbs you're getting.
So far, so good. Now,
so good, Mike.
Why carbs? They didn't just say this at random. Carbohydrates have some real serious advantages that fats seemingly don't, at least on paper. Carbs help you secrete insulin. Insulin is very anti-catabolic, so it reduces overall muscle breakdown. It is mildly anabolic, so it slightly increases muscle building. A good deal less breakdown and a little bit more building means overall, over time, with the presence of insulin, you are expected to gain a substantial amount of muscle over the long term. Maybe.
That is true. There's a bunch of other factors as well, like sleep and how you're training, how optimally you're training, stuff like that.
Another thing is this. Carbs provide a lot of workout energy.
Yep. That's like the key.
When you want to gain, you want to train hard to be able to gain. If you have really good workout energy, you can train harder and gain more muscle. Carbs can allow you to do that.
Yep.
Another thing is carbs give you big ass pumps, which psychologically makes you love training more.
And how you're going to get better pumps is 50 to 75 grams of quick digesting carbs 30 to 45 minutes before your workout. Your other meals are going to consist of slow digesting carbs eaten periodically throughout the day.
It usually keeps you more consistent. Cell swelling does have an effect on hypertrophy, but maybe not because of the carbs, but really because of the tension and the damage. And this is a true thing.
You're going to get a better pump because you have more glycogen in your muscles and because you have more energy to go harder, which in turn will give you a better pump.
if you have glycogen, which is the carbohydrates loaded into your muscles, that goes very low, substantially below a third of the glycogen you typically store, your muscle growth machinery checks the glycogen before it turns on after a lifting session and doesn't turn on nearly as much. So let me say that another way. If you're fully loaded with glycogen, at the very least, if you're not below a third of what your glycogen typically is, you're full on going to grow a ton from every training session. But if your glycogen, the internal storage of carbs in your muscle, drops really low, then the molecular machinery designed to make gains happen for you doesn't do as much of what it usually does to make you jacked. So that seems to be like
That's why it's almost nearly impossible to gain substantial muscle, or any muscle for that matter, while on a very strict cut, to the point where you're sort of getting show lean ready. I would say anywhere below 8%. That is where it gets into the danger zone when it comes to actually building muscle. At that point, you're just probably trying to sustain, or most people slightly lose a little bit of muscle around that area.
Pretty compelling case that you'd have to be kind of crazy not to eat as many carbs as possible and stick to the minimal fats. Today's new meta-analysis,
guys,
from Menno Henselman, colleagues,
unlocked,
a great friend of the channel and me in real life,
lock in, guys,
shows something different. So what's this meta-analysis situation?
Tell me, Mike.
They had randomized control trials, 11 of them, included in this study of studies. And they compared carbohydrate.
How can you have randomized controlled trials with people eating foods? They're going to know what they're eating and what that food or what they're eating consists of, whether it be fats or carbs. So if you tell someone to eat a certain diet and they have a bunch of fat in it, know that, and psychologically that could make a difference, or just the fact that they psychologically understand that they're eating more carbs could also make a difference in their performance. So I don't know. How could it be random?
And fat intakes of various levels. But they kept the calories the same in all of these studies, and they kept the protein the same. That's super critical.
If I were entering a study and someone had told me that it was going to be something to do with my diet, I would probably look into that, because I have a general understanding of dieting and what foods contain, whether it be carbs, protein, or fats. So I feel like I would be able to understand what I was eating, but I guess people are a little slower than me.
Many of the studies that have compared carbs, fats, and proteins to each other, they don't keep the protein levels the same. Protein has the biggest effect on muscle growth outcomes, surprise. And so if you don't keep it the same, you can't really make a good comparison. The resistance training interventions in these studies lasted at least 6 weeks, which is enough to show some directional growth.
Possibly for new lifters. For most average lifters, yes, I would agree.
There were group differences, pretty big ones, in carbohydrate intake, all the way from pretty high carb to pretty decently low carb.
Again, I feel like I would be able to see that or know what I was sort of consuming.
Measured muscle size as the outcome, direct measurements of muscle size, which is good. We're not inferring based on growth pathways or anything. We're actually measuring muscles before, muscles after. How many carbs versus fats did you eat? Everyone ate the same protein, had the same calories. What happened with muscle growth?
Cool.
They also checked to make sure there weren't any other supplement differences. It's just...
That's good. That's key. You could have someone taking creatine versus someone not, especially as a newbie lifter, and the difference in muscle growth in a 6-week period of training hard and sleeping and recovering right could be very noticeable.
Carbs versus fats within the same constraint of calories with the
as long as they're telling the truth. Again, we can't know that.
Same amount of protein. Looking back, the average sample size per study was about 20 people, which is robust enough to detect some effects. And the average duration of intervention, how long they lifted for with either more carbs or more fats, was about 8.5 weeks, which is really good. You can detect some stuff. It's not terribly long, so subtle effects are undetectable by the study design. But big effects, if we were going to say for sure eating a bunch more fats or for sure eating a bunch more carbs is going to be more beneficial, this kind of meta-analysis can either rule that in or rule that out pretty definitively. So, what were the findings?
Talk to me, Mike.
There was no statistically significant effect on muscle growth of eating more carbs or more fats. There was a slight directional effect benefiting more carbs, but the effect was teeny tiny. Mm-hmm. And as scientifically literate people, we have to admit that there's no way for us to know if that's not just total error, total random chance. It's so close to the line of would be the same that we just have to be like, there's just not much here. So in practical terms, there's no convincing evidence that raising your carbohydrates and dropping your
The biggest question I have so far on this would be the fact that how do you know, are you telling these people when to take their carbs? Because that is what is going to be the most important thing. If you were to just tell someone to eat a certain amount of carbs throughout the day, they could eat all 200 grams of carbs. Say they were on the low end, right? They were only eating 200 grams of carbs, or they were a woman, right? 200 grams of carbs. Say they would wake up, work out in the morning, whatever, and they would eat all of their carbs from anywhere from 3 o'clock to the end of the night. And then they would put a lot of those carbs right before bed. Let's think about this logically for a second. Let's point out the issues with that. You're not eating carbs pre-workout for that energy. You're not eating carbs post-workout to replenish your glycogen stores from your workout. You're waiting to eat carbs until later in the day. You're not eating, again, and then it could be types. They could just be only eating simple carbs. They could be eating the worst type of carbs, the ones that are just going to spike your blood sugar for a short amount of time, nowhere near when they're training, and then they could eat a bunch of these same simple carbs at night when they're going to bed, which is going to affect their HGH production. It's going to cause their body to be digesting those carbs as they're going to sleep rather than focusing on repairing the muscle, growing in that way. So it's not as much the number, it's how you position them and the types. Those are two very key important things that you can't take from a study where it's just showing a number of carbs versus a number of fats. You can't infer that, you can't imply that. You wouldn't know person to person how knowledgeable they are and how willing they are to actually go through with a study as deep and comprehensive as that. And I think that's really what's going to be the true cause and true anchor for carbs contributing to muscle growth.
Fats from 50 of each is going to cause you more muscle. The paper argues that for most resistance training, your glycogen doesn't get depleted much below 40%. And since the anti-anabolic effects...
Depends on how long you're in the gym, how hard you're going. If you're not that you should be in the gym for longer than 2 hours, but if you do have a longer, heavier day where you're doing more compounds, plus maybe you have to do cardio after, again, it's generally not, but it varies person to person and based on your workout.
Kick in below a third or even less of glycogen, you're just almost never going to run into that. And so if you're eating enough carbohydrates to replenish the glycogen back to normal, and because it's not getting crazy depleted and you don't need infinity carbs, a lot of fats and a lot of carbs can still work totally fine. And that seems to be what's really going on. Now, here's what this meta-analysis doesn't show.
Oh, maybe Mike's going to talk about what I just talked about. That would be good.
And thus we probably shouldn't conclude.
Wow, it's good.
It doesn't show that low carbs are ideal. Not even close. This study will for sure be misinterpreted by low carb folks as that's not the case.
You can't gain substantial muscle mass and optimally gain muscle mass on a carnivore diet, which just involves meat and fats, right? Like dairy product and fats. You do need carbs for muscle growth.
It doesn't show that there or might be a fine-grained difference in growth from pros or people on growth hormone that have some compelling reasons to eat more carbohydrate and less fat. It doesn't refute that. So every pro bodybuilder that's eating a lot of carbs and very low fats, they could still be doing the right thing.
They likely are. That's why they're pro bodybuilders.
It also doesn't show that in a caloric deficit, more carbs might not be best, because in a caloric deficit, your glycogen's getting depleted already. And if you eat more carbohydrates, you stay above that line below which you start losing more muscle or just not gaining as much.
Carbs are especially important on a cut, and carb timing is even more important on a cut.
In a deficit, maximizing carbohydrates might still be a good idea. We're not for sure, but this study does not.
Everything's implied, guys. We're not for sure on one thing. We're not for sure on anything. We're not sure how muscles grow. 50 sets versus 2 sets. What are we doing, guys? Just do what you want.
Rule that out, because everyone here in the study was roughly
This is all cope
at maintenance. And it doesn't show that there's no benefit of more carbs and fewer fats. Again, directionally, there was a little bit of benefit, but not statistically significant. But that doesn't say that the benefit does not exist. It could exist. We're just not sure if it does. One thing we can be pretty confident of in this study is that
Guys, I think most people should go based off of personal anecdotal evidence. I don't care what studies say. Most studies are fairly accurate. But again, if you have ever eaten a carnivore diet versus a high carb diet, at least healthy carb option, just think about how you feel, right? Actually, just think about that on a day-to-day basis. If nothing else is changing, if you're still sleeping the same, if you're getting your same protein, if you are taking your supplements, if you are recovering well, if nothing else is changing, just based on how you feel, or if you haven't tried a carnivore diet, maybe try it, see how you feel. Based on how you feel, choose what is best for you and follow that path.
Know whatever effect there is of more carbs versus fewer fat or versus more fats on muscle growth, that direction, the magnitude of the effect has to be pretty small. So if carbs do have an advantage, it's not going to be a huge advantage. It could be a small one. Now, small advantage over time makes some big differences, but it's not going to make a difference in the terms of months or anything like that.
That's true, but we're all in this for the long game, right? If you work out consistently, you're going to be working out for most likely the rest of your life. So those people who are trying to get their summer body in the next 2 weeks, this isn't for you, and I'm very sorry.
So that's a really big thing to figure out. And good news, most of these studies were conducted on trained lifters. So this isn't just untrained noobs. These are pretty serious folks.
Ooh, trained lifters, not noobs,
What
guys.
does this meta-analysis actually show that we can walk away from?
What does it show, folks? The folks.
First, it shows that roughly an even amount of carbs and fats checks all the boxes for basic muscle growth.
That's great.
So if you're eating a little fewer carbs or a little more carbs, it really just seems to be that you're going to get great muscle gain either way.
That's true. Again, it doesn't matter that much, right?
So if you're eating technically kilocalories and you eat 1,000 calories of those will be your protein, you have 2,500 calories left over to split between carbs and fats. If you do something like, I don't know, 1,250 of each carbs or fats, or you do 600 carbs and 1,900 in fats, if you do 600 calories in fats and 1,900 in carbs, all of that and everything between is likely to gain you similar amounts of muscle growth, at least in the medium term of months. That's a big deal. And this is awesome.
Possibly in the medium term. Also, again, we're not going for the medium term. We're going for the long term. And timing matters. Timing and types. It's the key, guys. That's my biggest point, is timing and types.
Because it's a huge win for mixed diets. Mixed diets are carbs and fats in very good proportion to each other. It's so much easier to travel, to go to restaurants, etc., just get enough protein and not care about the carb-fat ratio, because that way you can live your life and still check all the boxes for muscle growth instead of having to go to a restaurant and being like, can you guys get rid of all the fats and just give me carbs? That's not nearly as cool.
That is true. I will say, if you are on a vacation or something for a week, it's fine, again, but when have you been on a vacation and really felt truly locked in, dialed in as you are when you're at home, right? You have your sort of routine, you have your foods that you eat that will make you feel good at certain times when you're on vacation. Even if you're getting similar macros, or maybe you're eating a little more fats and carbs, you are not going to be feeling as good, feeling as dialed in as when you're at home. So again, when you're at home, don't just throw it out the window. Stick to your sort of routine.
Well, it's not nearly as fun, and seemingly doesn't have to be done. Here's another thing. Some people, even if they're not going out to eat and they're eating clean food, they just enjoy and feel better on a higher fat diet. Less brown rice, more avocado. Some people are like that, and it seems to be, according to this study,
some people are weird.
That can be a workable thing to gain a lot of muscle, no problem. Lastly,
it can be good, but it's not the best.
If you personally benefit from more carb,
you got to try it. You just have to test it yourself.
More fats or something in between. Here's what you do.
Guys, he's going to give you a mini experiment outline like I was talking about earlier. Listen to him.
You cap your calories to whatever slow gain that you can.
Yep.
You eat whatever amount.
Slow gain, cut, maintenance, whatever you're doing. Doesn't matter.
Of protein that you need. And then what I would recommend you do is start at 50 grams of carbs and the rest fats. Do a month of that to see.
Did he just say 50?
And start at 50 grams of carbs and the rest fats.
I'm assuming he's talking about for people who have never gone on high fat, high protein diets, he's talking about the average person who just eats the normal amount of carbs, fats, and protein, which usually means that they're eating more carbs in general. But 50 grams of carbs a day is no. You're not going to want to go with that low. Trust me, guys, and this is coming from someone who has gone on a carnivore for months on end. I have been on carnivore for probably 3 months in a row at one time, where it was just protein and fats. I will say it wasn't zero carbs. He's saying it was probably around 50. It would be like fruits, pre-workout and post-workout. And that was probably about it for carbs for me. And I will tell you, when it comes to muscle growth and energy, muscle growth, it was not as optimal. I got leaner because, again, I was just eating in a calorie deficit because it was harder to eat more because that's what I was restricting myself to. But 50, I would not go that low. I would start maybe 100 grams of carbs on the lowest to start.
Do a month of that to see what low.
Most people won't survive a month of that.
Carbing really feels like.
It sucks.
Train normally, train to gain. Remember, eat enough calories.
It's going to be harder to train. It's going to be worse.
And you will gain muscle even at low carbs like that. Add 50 grams of carbs to that a month later. So now you're up to 100 grams of carbs. You got to get the calories from somewhere, and the rough math is that you subtract 20 grams of fat from your diet. So you added 50 grams of carbs, subtracted 20 grams of fat.
Guys, you'll realize that every, 2 to 4 weeks or whatever, 4 weeks, you'll realize that you're just going to feel better each week until eventually you're back at the point where you're just eating a lot of carbs and keeping fats decently low and protein the same. So I wouldn't waste my time going through this as someone who has gone through this.
A month later, do the same thing. So a month later, again, you're at 100.
Unless you're trying to lose weight at incredible speeds and absolutely shred, or you're obese, no.
150 grams of carbs per day, and you've subtracted 40 grams of fat away from your original value, 20 and then 20. Then you go up to 200, something like, for this example, about 60 or something grams of fat. Don't go any lower than that because that would be too low. Each one of those clips should be about a month. Why? Because you really want good data. You don't want fluctuations to muddy the picture for you.
That is true. You do want to stay on something for about a month to really get good data. If you just do it for a week, you're not going to know, and you might make the wrong decision. But I'm telling you this again, as someone who's done this, do not do this.
You're going to be looking at a few core outcomes, tracking them meticulously using your RP Hypertrophy app. And
nice plug.
You can use your RP Diet Coach app to program this diet. You want to track strength progression and see where during this time you're gaining strength for.
It's going to be very difficult to progress doing this, especially if you are on a cut. But
reps, the best. You're going to want to track your pumps. Pumps are
will be
correlated to muscle hypertrophy.
You're going to be more sore.
People who get the best pumps
you're going to have less energy during your workout. Unless you're just putting all your carbs right before your workout, then you might still have energy during the workout, but then the rest of the day for recovery, you're not going to have energy.
And has theoretical support as well. So wherever you're getting the best pumps, probably is where you're getting
most
soreness. If you're getting nice and sore, but then healing on time, that's good. If you get really sore but don't heal on time, not great. If you don't get sore at all and you feel like you're barely working out, also not great. Another one is workout energy. This one is huge. Somewhere between low fat, somewhere in that curve, you're going to feel your best workout energy. And that's critical because a good workout energy means you train harder. And not only do you train harder per set, but you can do more sets. And that way you can get more growth. Workout energy is big. Whatever way to eat that gives you enough protein and maximizes workout energy, man, it's not far off of the right answer. Another one.
That's true. But I will say, again, you don't have to go through this entire study on yourself. I wouldn't start as low as he was saying with the carbs, and I would still do sort of a similar thing, maybe just less dramatic of a change, because 99% of people are not going to feel their best on 50 grams of carbs.
Sleep quality. Where are you sleeping best? Some people have their best sleep when they're high carb, some people when they're moderate carb, some people when they're low.
I will say sleep on high carb. You do need to think about the timing. I wouldn't pack a bunch of carbs near the end of the day. I also wouldn't pack any simple carbs near the end of the day whatsoever.
Or carb. There's no wrong answer. There's just what works for you. Sex drive. As a slight proxy for androgenic hormones like testosterone. Fats are awesome for testosterone. Some people will have great testosterone levels with 50 grams of fat per day. Some people don't have their best until they're at 150 grams of fat per day.
Healthy fats, guys. We're not talking seed oils. We're not talking your favorite burger joint. We're talking healthy fats, eggs, red meat, butter, stuff like that.
Sex drive will be a proxy for your testosterone levels. The higher the sex drive, generally the better it is for muscle growth, though that's not a one-to-one thing, it's a directional thing. And overall indicators of fatigue. How tired, how worn down are you? How many weeks can you progress without having to deload? If you honestly can't tell the difference between 150 grams of carbs and 250 grams of carbs and everything in between, 150, 200, and 250 felt the same. At 100, you felt not so great, not enough carbs. At 300, you're like, you have to eat so few fats that your sex drive starts to go down the drain. But if 150, 200, and 250 are...
Bro, most people are not going to notice that they are eating too little fats for their sex drive to go down. That's just not going to happen.
All roughly the same for you, you don't have to be all fucking Albert Einstein about it and try to get to which one's 175.
Again, and most people are eating, especially people that are super just into the gym, they're eating way more protein than they have to. They're like, oh, I need 250 grams of protein. You weigh 160, bro. You don't need that. You're literally just going to poop it all out. You're not absorbing any of it. So lower the protein, fill it with carbs so that you can still have enough healthy fats to, he's saying, get your hormones in check.
Really is great news because that means all of those are the right answer. And so then on some days when you're eating your food and it just so happens you're going out for pasta, you can eat more carbs and fewer fats. And then other days when you're eating your food and you feel more like some almonds or something like that.
Just don't be fat. Don't have these crazy cravings. Normal cravings are all right, but just don't crash out. And if you're at home, you don't need to really be going off plan because you're at home, you're in a controlled environment. It makes more sense if you're on a vacation and you have less options. But if you're at home, just stay locked in. It's not that hard.
Then you can eat higher fats and lower carbs and everything's going to be totally fine as long as you stay within your personal range of optimality, which you will find out if you do some of these progressions where your carbs, raising fats, calories stay the same, protein stays the same, so you're only ever changing really one thing if you think about it. Now, just one more thing before I sign off for you guys. This is a big deal. When we're saying fat, we don't mean bad fats. We don't mean junk.
That's what I'm saying.
Food, because there's a way to interpret this that says, look, I eat clean. Got my turkey breast, got my rice, got my veggies.
Horrible meal, by the way. That would be so bland unless you're a really great cook and know some good seasonings. Also, vegetables are overrated.
If I was recommending one product,
wow, first ad. First ad of the video. That's actually crazy. What? We're like 17 minutes in.
Because I do high carb, low fat.
I don't hate that at all.
That's what clean eating looks like. Then you see this meta-analysis, you read it, you watch this video, and you go, fats are great. So instead of a bunch of white rice and lean turkey and veggies, I'm going to eat a regular burrito with cheese and sour cream in this mother. Same calories, same protein, way more fats, way fewer carbs. And then you're like, so I guess I'm like a McDonald's.
Oh, I feel like crap. I'm eating seed oils all the time. I'm just stuffing my face because I'm fat. This is dumb.
Cheeseburger also has the profile that I need to get like...
Yeah, bro. It's not about macronutrients, about micronutrients. Micronutrients, how you feel. Macronutrients, just, it's macronutrients are cope. If you're going to eat a food, the food needs to be good for you to make you feel your best. It's not about just getting your protein, fats, and carbs. It's about feeling good.
Same calories. I have a protein shake with it, or even shit. It even has enough protein, but it's way higher fat, way lower carb. That would be a mistake because McDonald's cheeseburgers are not healthy. Every now and again, you can eat them and they're
wait, they're not?
Totally fine.
Dude. No, dude. I just had 3 of them, bro. I thought they were healthy because of the meta-analysis. The meta-analysis told me that high fats was... Dr. Mike, you told me the meta-analysis was...
Fine, but regularly eating unhealthy fat sources, lots of saturated fat, lots of processed foods is probably not ideal.
Probably not.
What you want to do is stick to healthy fat sources. Nut butter, olive...
Nuts? Oh, I like where this is going.
Oil, canola oil.
Whoa. Out of left field. We're talking olive, canola. Okay. Dr. Mike. You've outdone yourself, my friend. No seed oils. Cook your food in butter, guys. If you're not cooking your food in butter in 2026, you might as well just not even work out. You're killing yourself. You can't even go in the sun. Try going in the sun for an hour, UV9, and tell me how you feel with all the seed oils in you. I can go out for a day, 24 hours straight. No seed oils. We gotta bounce.
Etc. Healthy fats. That should be the majority of your fats. So if you decide that you want to do higher fat, lower carb, because it seems to work for you based on this experiment.
Because you're a slimy weirdo? I don't know.
Don't just eat a shitload of bacon and a bunch of grease.
I haven't had bacon in probably 4 years.
Make sure that
Unless, that might not be true, but it's rare. let me tell you.
Fats are from healthy sources, then you're going to have amazing results and amazing health. And because you have amazing health, you'll be able to train significantly harder for longer and have amazing results.
That's what I'm saying. That's what we want, guys. At the end of the day, we want to train hard. We want to get
pro
big,
bodybuilders,
right?
people who are using growth hormone, insulin, etc. We don't. And so if you're in that category of real serious bodybuilder, I would...
Me and you watching this video. Let's go.
Still tell you that it's good to experiment. Here's how. Don't go into the low carb shit. You don't need to start from 50 grams of carbs. That's insane.
Agreed.
That's almost certainly not.
And if you're natural, you still don't have to go that low.
Going to be what's best for you. But if, let's say, you're eating about 75 grams of fat and you're eating about 400 grams of carbs, the rest protein, what I would do is I would try to play with taking your fats down to 50, jacking your carbs.
Why is bro burping so much? No hate. I'm just wondering.
Carbs up. And I know this is crazy. Try to get your fats up to 100 grams of fat per day and jack your carbs down a little bit. Some people hate it. And some people, it was the medicine they didn't know that they needed. There are many pro bodybuilders over the years that realized
I have heard of bodybuilders on high fat, high protein diet, low carb. Guys, again, it could work.
Super low fat diets were not working for them. They went to higher fats, lower carbs, and their physiques blew up.
It might have been the trend. I don't know if it was the carbs.
Sometimes people need more fats to take care of the hormonal stuff, and they just don't know what they're missing. So if you're a pro bodybuilder, if you're up there in the bodybuilding ranks, still change the carbs and fats. Just keep the fats lower on average and the carbs higher, and don't make the changes as big. And you might realize that 100 grams of fat per day is better for you than 50. 75 is about as good as 100. Maybe 100 is even better. Or you can find out that 50 to 75 is great. Anything close to 100, so few carbs, your pumps suck, you don't have as much of a response in the gym, you're not healing as quickly on time, and then you go back to 50 to 75 and live the bodybuilding lifestyle. Let me know if that makes sense. Questions in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time.
Well, Mike, that was great. Honestly, guys, loved that. One thing I loved a lot is his vein on his forehead. I was looking at that the whole time when he was talking. Anyways, guys, final thoughts in this video. I still do think that high carb diets are very conducive for muscle growth. But the overall point that I'm really just trying to make with this video is that carb types and carb timing are truly what is going to make the difference. The amount, yes, maybe that won't make as big of a change like he was talking about in this video. Carbs and fats, the fluctuation, it doesn't make a huge difference. But what does make the big difference is the timing and types. So I hope you guys enjoyed this reaction video. This will be the first reaction video on the channel. I know it was a bit of a longer one. Let me know if you guys did enjoy it in the comments. Comment any videos you would like me to react to next. And I hope you guys all enjoyed it. I will see you all in the next video. Peace.